Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is the GOP's new favorite, as his Trump-like characteristics charm voters on the right who are more loyal to Donald Trump than their own political party or even the country. So a GOP pollster, his name is Tony Fabrizio, found that voters actually prefer DeSantis over his Republican colleagues from his own state. So in a hypothetical three-way primary for president, DeSantis gets 64% support compared to 12% for Senator Marco Rubio, little Marco, and 10% for Senator Rick Scott. The 52-point lead over Rubio represents a massive increase since July. The last time this pollster had a matchup between the three and found that DeSantis was ahead just by 11 points over Rubio. So you can see how much that lead has widened, that gap has widened between DeSantis and Rubio. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know what Marco Rubio's been up to lately. I mean, it could be the fact that DeSantis has been in front of cameras a lot more than Marco Rubio has been. And DeSantis is more of a Trump loyalist than Rubio is, although Rubio has certainly licked some boots himself. But nonetheless, there's the highly intelligent governor of Florida having some difficulty putting a mask on during this pandemic. But Ryan, what do you make of this? Do you think it's just a moment? I mean, Buttigieg had a moment and then we saw where that went. Do you think maybe that's the case with DeSantis?
Well, I mean, this doesn't include Trump and other people in a poll. I do think it says more about Rubio and Scott probably than it does about DeSantis. Rubio just got thoroughly waxed in the presidential election by Trump, by Christ. He just utterly nuked, and that's Rick Scott has never been a terribly popular person. He basically ran a hospital company that was engaged in and charged with like the biggest Medicare fraud in country, walked away with millions of dollars of Medicare money, and then used that money to elect himself to the Senate. And so, neither of those people are well positioned to be very, very popular. But I do think liberals ought to reflect a little bit about how their own approach to COVID has benefited DeSantis in a way. So we just saw that clip. This is a bozo who didn't even know how to put a mask on in public. When the first time he comes out and tries to do it, revealing that he had never even bothered to try to put one on before. Yet the COVID data out of Florida is better than it is out of California and it is out of New York. And you throw on top of that Cuomo is now engulfed in a scandal that could. We'll see. Could end his career, probably won't, but could end his career. Federal prosecutors looking into his handling of nursing homes, and in general, the shine is really off of him, and so he was kind of the white knight for the kind of the progressive approach to, or I should say, to the liberal democratic approach to handling COVID. And so then when you end up comparing how New York did and how Florida did, and a buffoon like DeSantis, who can't even put on a mask and basically kept the economy open, winds up having better results, is going to end up helping him. And so I think Democrats have to ask, did they overreact in some ways? Is there some cultural element that they missed? What's going on here that is driving that popularity?
Or maybe he suppressed numbers. I mean, I don't know. What has he done that's right? I think that there should actually be a deeper look at that. I mean, some of this is luck. Like some of this luck. Like in California, you've got this absolutely wicked variant that is more contagious and is deadlier, and is causing major problems. In New York, you have people who just absolutely live on top of each other. And in California, you have very good weather. In Florida, you have very good weather. In Florida, you don't have that California variant. And so I think a significant amount of what went right for Florida is that
people weren't honest enough or early enough about how safe it is to be around people outside. You know, if you're more than 6 feet away from people and you're outside and there's a nice breeze blowing, as most of Florida has a nice breeze blowing, then you're actually going to be pretty safe. And so, you know, blue states could have told people, you know, look, if you're going to have gatherings, do them outside, stay 6 feet apart. And instead, they told everybody, you know, stay in your house. Do not leave your house unless it's an absolute emergency. Whereas in Florida, they were like, screw it, do whatever you want, go anywhere.
Yeah.
But people in Florida do things outdoors because the weather is so nice, and so I think
nice is being a little generous. You're being a little generous. A real human in Florida, real human, which by the way also helps. By the way,
the summer
that helps with the virus because humidity actually allows for, let's say you're outside, you're having some sort of event, you're with other people. If you have coronavirus, those droplets, they don't just. In dry weather, it's easier for it to be transmitted, right? But in humid weather, the drop. Exactly. So I think weather has something to do with it as well. But remember, DeSantis is also the governor who allowed for this insane raid to happen against a state worker who was in charge of putting the data together to let people know about how many people had contracted the virus in the state, how many people had died from the virus. She was later fired for that. And then officials in Florida raided her home, took her computer. So I want to know how much we can really rely on the numbers that we know in the state. But you're right. I mean, there are other variables to consider as well. But you're also right, unfortunately, that I think regardless of how incompetent DeSantis has been, the way that this plays out, at least in the public's perception, is that, well, it looks like everyone else overreacted. Florida didn't. Their economy isn't hurting as much as other states are at the moment, and so maybe libs don't get it.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.